All the other streams, I want to say good morning and an amazing morning to all of you. I hope you're having an amazing Happy New Year and welcome to 2023. And I hope this is going to be the best, most freest year of your life. And I personally am going to do everything I can to help make sure that happens. And, there's a lot of stuff in the works and in plan for 2023 on my end. There's a lot of things that I'm working on. And I hope you all had amazing New Year's and welcome to 2023. We made it. We made it beyond all the BS from the past couple of years and all the COVID nonsense. Sorry, cerveza sickness for YouTube. And we've gone beyond that, and here we are at the first step in the golden era. And welcome to 2023. Let's share some stories, how your New Year's was. And then I'm probably going to talk about something that's going to make you, some of you, a little bit upset, but it's going to be a thought exercise. Not upset, but, kind of, I do like to always look at things from the other side and try to interpret motivations that we might falsely attribute. But that's later on. We'll get to that. Happy New Year, Paula, Ryan. Happy New Year, brother. Betty White Resurrected. Good morning. And Happy New Year. And a bunch of coffee emojis. I hope you all have your coffee ready if you haven't had your morning coffee already. I hope you all had a wonderful night. Tell me what you did last night. Good afternoon and happy New Year's, Ben. Yeah, D2 is in Prince Edward Island. See? You didn't think I would remember that. And I hope you had an amazing New Year. What did you guys all do? What did everybody do to celebrate? Did you have a quiet night? Usually for New Year's, I haven't really celebrated or gone out for New Year's, God, in years. I usually don't really participate in it beyond talking to friends. I think since 2000 and... I remember 2005 was the first New Year's. I was in Miami, living on the beach, 5 or 6, because I'd lived there many different times, gone down there for 4, 5, 6 months at a time and whatever. Anyways, I was living with a buddy of mine and had a place on the beach. We're in the 38th floor, I think it was. And looking down at the beach, I'd actually have some pictures of the moon over the ocean. It's amazing. And I just spent New Year's watching documentaries, and was one of the best New Year's I've ever had. And ever since then, I just kind of dialed back my New Year's and focused on organization and working, watching documentaries. This New Year's was a little bit different because I never, my social media was usually just limited to promoting podcasts and platforms of other people. And this year, because of Freedom Convoy and because of the book and all the interviews I'm doing, I spent so much of my time last night wishing Happy New Year's to everybody and just making sure I'm connecting with everybody. I didn't want anybody to feel as though I missed them or wasn't thinking about them. I'm sure I missed some people. And whoever I did, I apologize. I love you. I wish you a Happy New Year and all the best to everybody. 2023 is going to be the freest year of our lives. And I'm going to make sure of that. I need your help to make sure we can ensure that's the case. And that's also why I put out, not only on Twitter, but on Facebook. I took a little video last night of the fireworks in downtown Toronto and in front of my place, and my friends in other countries sent me similar videos. And the tweet I put out was, Happy New Year. The honking will continue until we are all free from tyranny. And for anybody who's a moron in our legal system who doesn't understand metaphors and that not everything is literal, that is a metaphor. But I think there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for us to help wake up many, many people who are starting to engage. I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But let me know how your New Year's was. I hope you celebrated it either with family or friends, or I like how I do it and kind of low key. and quiet and just communicating with people. Jesse, I played video games in silence to bring in the new year. Am I old? With a text from my kiddos. How is that? If you're playing video games, you're by definition not old. Most importantly, what were you playing? You get extra points if it was Grand Theft Auto. Yes, I love Grand Theft Auto, and I don't care that it's not politically correct. It rocks. And anyways, but anyway, New Year's was so fun hanging out with one of my besties in Toronto, downtown Toronto. Hope you all had a wicked night. Paula, we had a bunch of like-minded friends over and brought the new year in happy. That's awesome. Sonia, we had friends. It was so nice. Elena, Happy New Year. Plushy Buck. Plushy Buck. Awesome name. Quiet as always. Listen, so for some of us, quiet is amazing. I'm one of those people. I tend to like that. Oops, forgot the words. Fair enough. Bridget, I went to the casino and won and ate bad food. All good. I walked away with 2 months' pay. It's well, there you go. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's really good. That's a great way to start the new year. Yes, Sonia. Jesse, the video game. It was not GTA. I like MMO RPG games. Okay, so which RPG were you playing? I suck at GTA. It's not about being good. Listen, you know how I've played the GTA 5. I don't know if I've ever played it. Like I got halfway through, and then it's just all cheat codes and just shooting lots of people. Like that's all I do, and stealing lots of cars because it's the most. That's why it's a game. It's a video game because it's always fun to be the baddie, and so that's what I tend to do with video games. So please like, share, subscribe. This feed, locals, all the stuff, and I'm gonna focus a lot on this platform throughout 2023, just to help ensure many of our freedoms. I had some long conversations with people. Yes, I was on the phone for 5 hours with people in Western Canada about doing events and coming out and meeting many of you who are in Western Canada. And just getting together, just doing either local pubs and bars and getting together, one place to do a speech and book signing and stuff like that. Bridget has something. She told me I am to be present on January 28th for some gala to sign books or something. And okay, great. I'll be there, whatever it is. So I think this is going to be a fun year for all of us. One of the people I wish Happy New Year to yesterday was to Candace Sarrow, the woman with the walker who was trampled by the horses and had her bank accounts frozen because she was trampled by the horses. Oh yeah, now that I'm not involved, now that I am involved, we're not going to let that go. So it's going to be a little bit of a surprise year for some people. I will do my best. Because revenge is a dish best served cold, right? So I murdered tomatoes for pizza sauce and was asleep before midnight. All right, Amanda, listen, if that's what made you happy, that's great. But again, there's been many New Years where I went to sleep at 10 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, I got lots of stuff to do tomorrow as well. It's really not that big of a deal, but I know for a lot of people it is. So many nights when I used to bartend, I bartended for 2 or 3 New Years. How long did I bartended for? Maybe 3 years. So I did quite a lot of that. I finished binding the 6th and final quilt. A friend dropped off for me to bind earlier last week. Crocheted a bit and in bed by 10. All right, hey Beth, listen. So you were more productive than most of us, right? I had a long to-do list yesterday, and I got through like half of it because most of the time I was on the phone. So Bridget says, regarding the 28th, details to come soon. All right, great. Anyone around in Montreal? By the way, Ryan, I am going to be in Montreal, I think towards the end of January. I promised, some of you know, I know Dr. Gad Sad, who I adore, and Gad asked me if I'm going to be coming to Montreal anytime soon, so I want to see him. I want to see Valerie and a whole bunch of people. So I'm going to try to be in Montreal before the end of the year. So before the end of January. First, I got to deal with my birthday next week and figure out what I'm going to do. I also got to get in the truck, go to the U.S. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But if you're close to Montreal, I'll let you know when it's closer to my going to Montreal, and we'll see if you want. We can get together for a little bit. Patricia, by the way, I like saying it the Spanish way, Patricia, because I'm used to. It's a very common name. Diana and Patricia are very common names in Colombia. So sending truckloads of love and support. Best wishes from the Netherlands. I was with my parents and grateful I still have them, as am I and many of us, especially since I lost one of my friends last week, and we kind of learn why family is important. That's the other thing I'm doing today. I'm going to be at a Shiva house for most of the afternoon. They're 83. We enjoyed some music programs this year. I still will not comply. Honk, honk. United we stand. And the more united we become with people who we agree and disagree with, the stronger we'll be, which is why I'm going to talk about this issue after the next list of things. And some people are going to lose their minds, but you'll understand what I'm getting at. And it's not my opinion. Bridget, Ottawa. Okay. There's a freedom tour going out your way. Okay, cool. That's all right. So you guys are all talking there. So a couple of things I want to just put on the positive filter. And wait, where's the? Okay, yeah, okay. Here we go. I wanted to just focus on what are some of the good things that are happening in 2023. What can we look forward to? Right? And some of it is a result of things we accomplished in 2022, and some are things that are going to be coming down the pipeline. So first thing, we just had Christmas and New Year's, and it's the first truly free Christmas and New Year's we've had in years, right? Because we had this authoritarian creep we were dealing with, and well, we weren't, if you notice this year, we weren't kind of factoring, should we have people for Christmas or not, or how many masks do we need to wear and whatever. Like even the normies, even regular people who are not paying attention politically because they're too busy in their lives, even they have just kind of tuned out from all the fear mongering and have moved on. So freedom is back, baby. And, we accomplished a lot with that. And I think the convoy was part of the catalyst that started the pushback. And so that's one of the things we need to celebrate from 2022. In Toronto here, where I am, and some of you are, it's warm. I couldn't believe how warm it was yesterday. It's beautiful. I just went out this morning. It was warm as well. It's great. I mean, it's a small thing to be appreciative of, but it is what it is. Politically, in Canada, the blackface regime is a joke. It's a lame duck leadership, and more and more people are realizing that government is completely corrupt. They're all full of crap and don't believe any of them. So that, I think, is a success that we should point to, and we should be happy about that. As well, politically, the political class, and this was brought to my attention by a friend who's a police officer, the political class have learned that there is a line that they will not cross. And if they try to cross it again, that's going to be very bad for them. And if they thought the pushback was hard last time, the pushback will be 10 times harder if they try any of this bullshit again, right? So that's good. Regular people will not tolerate more lockdowns. I don't know if you've noticed that. I've been speaking to people who are regular people who don't really, they just kind of follow mainstream media, not really paying attention. Like I said before, busy with their kids, busy with their careers and all that sort of stuff. Don't have time for politics. And even they have decided, no, we're not doing that anymore. And they've moved beyond. People are shifting their bias, at least how I view it. I'm seeing a lot of this. People are shifting their bias more towards free speech. I think that's a lot of the cause of Elon Musk and Twitter. That since it's been all over the news, it's another example of the Streisand effect, right? The legacy media wants to tell us that free speech is bad And then they put Elon Musk up on the news all the time talking about Twitter, and that Twitter wants people to have free speech, and regular people thinking, yeah, that might be a good idea. Maybe I'm going to go with one of the wealthiest people or the wealthiest person alive and his opinions on that matter, right? The other thing is, from my perspective as a techie guy, Bitcoin is becoming more accepted amongst regular people. I know a lot of people don't understand why the price fluctuates. This is what happens every mid-cycle. But people now understand the importance of sovereign money. And artificial intelligence, which I at one point was very, very concerned about. I was on the side of the camp that this could be, civilization ending. Now that I've been actually using different AIs and understanding that they're all different, AI could significantly change the world for the better. I'm not in favor of governments having too much artificial intelligence, but the free market and all of us having a choice of various different artificial intelligence, like a to-do app on your phone, I think will change our civilization significantly and make life a lot better for all of us in ways that many of us don't understand at this point. So I'm actually really excited. That's one of my themes I'm going to focus on this year. I just spent the past week, and I'm not even finished yet, with massive automation of all my processes and to-do lists and all of my apps. And the next thing I got to do, I'm working on my file structure, and artificial intelligence to plug into that would be absolutely amazing. Guillaume, not even an emergency broadcast in Quebec at the turn of the year. You mean in terms of everybody stay home and lock yourself at home because the scary virus is going to kill you all? There's none of those warnings anymore? I wonder what caused that. Nothing to do with truckers. Honk, honk. Bridget says, I saw an F. Pierre flag. Is that because of his stupid comments? Where he doesn't understand to say, hey, regardless whether you like the flags or not during Freedom Convoy, this is what free speech is. Free speech is about protecting speech you don't like. But he's not intelligent enough to say that. I don't know. But that's not what it is. It's actually a strategy, and I will talk more about that in another episode. We'll talk about politics. Irene, AI is very dangerous. AI could be very dangerous, and what kind of AI? As I'm learning, as I'm using 4 different AIs right now, trying to learn, like I can't program machine learning, right? It would take me a year to learn that level of sophistication in programming, and I'm not the greatest programmer to begin with. But AI could be very dangerous, like anything else. AI also could change civilization for the better beyond your wildest imaginations. It's just a matter of, how are human beings going to use it? There's always going to be a small percentage of nefarious actors. And then there's going to be a lot of people, the majority that are going to try to use it for good. So I'll give you an example. You know how you're on Facebook? You'll notice, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, I accept everybody as a friend. And some of the accounts are a little bit wild. It's because half of those accounts are fake. Most of Facebook is fake. Most of the accounts on there are completely fake. They're bots. Facebook lives on 2 things. 1, fake bots. And 2, if you live in the third world in various countries and you can't afford a data plan on your cell phone. So everybody has a cell phone, but they have cheaper cell phones and they can't afford data. But if you go to in Colombia, if you have Tigo or Movistar or whatever, and you have their cheapest plan, you don't have data, but you do get Facebook and WhatsApp for free. And that's what's driving so many people onto Facebook still, is because they're subsidizing data services in third world countries to ensure people stay on the platform. That's all who's there. It's all bots. And one of the nefarious ways that AI can be used is going to be by hustlers and criminals, right? Right now they use bots, and the reason I add all the bots is because I try to interact with them. I get the same script. It's all a script. You can tell it's pulling it from a database, but you can tell when they're trying to tweak AI, and starting to incorporate it to understand contextual speech, which is what bots don't understand. And so there's an example of, yeah, okay, criminal organizations can get a programmer to layer on an AI onto a bot to try to confuse people to fleece them for money. Notice Facebook doesn't try to get rid of bots off their platform. They do try to get people off their platform who has political views that are different than Mark Zuckerberg. But in terms of accounts that hustle people, that they're okay with, that they've got no problem with, right? And there's the buggy moral code of the administration of Facebook. Bridget, do you need a notebook, BJ, and a pen set? I don't understand. I'm confused. Give me some additional context on it. I'll answer. Okay, well, let me take that off. All right, and Jimmy, it will take jobs, won't it? Happy New Year from Liverpool, Nova Scotia, Canada, buddy. Jimmy, Happy New Year's. Automation is what's going to take jobs, but what AI will take jobs from is the current infrastructure of white-collar jobs. So lawyers in discovery, who do discovery, which is the majority of what legal work is, lawyers, accountants, bankers, all that sort of stuff. However, at the same time, if you are a law firm that starts to utilize AI, as opposed to losing jobs, it might actually create more jobs. It'll create better productivity because it'll allow individuals to utilize the AI to aid in its work. And that's kind of my argument. And that's what Elon Musk has been going along with when he's trying to say we need to merge with AI. I think he takes it a little bit far with the the company he's got that does the chip in the head. Because he made the argument that we're all cyborgs because we use our cell phone. The cell phone is what allows us to be a cyborg because we can access the internet. And I think that's all it really needs to be. So in your cell phone, you'll have AI apps, like the AI apps that I'm using right now, that will just aid in productivity. So will jobs be sacrificed? I think just the economy is always changing. CGP Grey, a guy I've met a couple of times, did a very famous video several years ago. Was it 5-6 years ago now? Called Humans Need Not Apply, and it's about automation. And it's all the doom and gloom aspects, but I think he, in my opinion, forgets how the increased productivity will free people up for more creative endeavors. That's why you see so many people now on YouTube, like I am here now, or on Locals, honkingforfreedom.locals.com, by the way. And it's just going to allow the economy to change. I think that's all it is, right? So it's not going to be living in the 1950s anymore, but I think we're going to be able to change. Like, imagine, people are talking about, oh, trucks are going to be automated. Could you, like, Bridget, you're a trucker, okay? So imagine this, Bridget. They're always talking about automation of trucks and whatever. And Bridget, I think you're more like my brother, who likes kind of old school trucks. He's got a W900. And more traditional, I give that parallel to motorcycles, sport motorcycles versus Harley Davidsons. He's like the Harley Davidson type, and I'm like the techie nerd type. I like the advancements. So imagine, I'm going to see if I can sell it to you, Bridget. Imagine if you had a truck. I think the automation of trucks is going to follow the same path as the automation of pilots. You're never going to get rid of pilots out of the cockpit, just like you're never going to get rid of truck drivers out of the cab, right? Because people are not going to trust a machine on its own on the highway. They would want to have a human being overseeing everything. Could you imagine, Bridget, you go to pick up your truck, you pick up a load, there's no paperwork, everything is now digital in your phone, and you get in your truck, you set everything up, you do the safety checks, whatever, you pull it on the highway, and you get out of the city, let's say, onto the interstates, if you're driving U.S. cross-border, which you will be able to do soon, I promise. But imagine you get on the interstate, and then you can activate an AI-driven autopilot that you can then, and that's what I think Elon Musk needs with Tesla, and I think I have a feeling he's working towards that, trying to figure out how to incorporate AI with autopilot, which is what allow it to have full functionality. You wouldn't have to worry. But imagine being in your truck, You're the operator. You check on, your job is going to be all the safety checks, checking the equipment and our usual safety checks before we start, right? Slack adjusters and all that sort of stuff. All the digital paperwork, communications to dispatch, all that sort of stuff. You get on the highway, you activate the AI, and what do? You roll your seat back, kind of like in the Millennium Falcon, which is what a truck is, by the way. That's the kind of motivating factor of what motivated the Millennium Falcon. You sit back, you turn your chair slightly, you put your feet up, you pull up a laptop, you get on the internet, you do some other work, you do personal work, you interact with family and all that sort of stuff while the truck drives itself through the interstate. And then when you need to pull over, you pull into the rest area, you turn the AI-driven autopilot off, you go into the rest area, you go to the truck stops. That's what's going to happen. We're never going to see a truck just driving on its own. That is science fiction fantasy. I'm sorry. It's going to be, and we have the aviation industry to look at as a guide. So everybody who thinks about automation of trucks, I don't have to worry. But Bridget, wouldn't that be amazing to have your truck the way it is now, but when you wanted to, if you wanted to, you could press a button, then you can have an automated, artificial intelligence driven cruise control that you don't have to worry, that will allow you to do other things while you're in the truck until you get to the destination, or you just decide you want to drive. That would be amazing, in my opinion, but you may disagree. So anyways. People blindly trust CBC and Trudeau, and they will trust autopilot. Not many people trust the CBC and Trudeau. I would push back at that just because I know what their ratings are. Nobody watches it. That's why they need to get their $1 billion a year, whatever it is, out of the government, because they have no viewers. That's just the reality. And you know what? It's only a matter of time. The lie can only go on for so long about the CBC and whatever, till eventually it hits a wall and somebody comes in and pulls the plug and says, okay, we're done spending $1 billion a year on the 20,000 people who are watching it every night. Like that's just, that's where Tao, AI autopilot is good and all until it breaks and leaves you immobilized in a blizzard. Okay, so perfect example. When you're, it's just like cruise control. And Bridget and I have had this conversation before. Even during the convoy, we had this conversation. And she was like, yeah. I'm like, I know. But by the way, Bridget, you were very supportive. And, during the convoy when I talked to you about that, and I really appreciate that. Despite the fact the fiction of people saying we all hated each other. You were very nice about that, so I appreciate it. So, yeah, when you're driving in a snowstorm like I was caught in last week, you're not using cruise control. You're also not using AI. And this is part of that humans underestimate change in the short term. They overestimate change in the short term and they underestimate change over the long term. So when they think, oh yeah, AI is going to be able to drive a truck in all weathers and whatever, in maybe 50 years, it's not going to, and that's even with the acceleration of change that James Burke talked about in the early 80s in his documentary series. It was The Day the World Changed, I think, was that series. But even with that, we're decades away from that. Right? Okay, I don't dish out. Okay, so on locals, Amanda says, I don't think an AI will ever be able to safely maneuver as quickly as a human in an accident situation. No, it's already been proven with Tesla. It reacts much faster than people. It just is. It has so many, like we have 5 senses, touch, smell, sight, taste, and hear, and sound. AI has 1 billion different senses. If you see how the technology works, it's fascinating. And if you go on internet and you type on YouTube, Tesla avoids accidents, you'll see how many accidents it avoided. That even all of us, myself, and I have a lot of racetrack experience too. Like I've used to amateur race stuff, and so I have a lot of experience in a car. Even I would have been like, okay, I didn't see that. You could, because it was 4 cars ahead. And the, was it sonar or LiDAR? There's sonar, LiDAR, and a few other different sensories that are on a Tesla beyond just a visual camera. There's also, things that are not within the visual spectrum. It could see through the cars in front of it and see what was happening. And no person has that ability in terms of sensory perception. So anyways, it is what it is. And that's why I'm like, I understand people's apprehension to technology. I'm very much in terms of the law of diffusion of innovation, I'm more on the kind of early adopter side of stuff, just because I grew up with computers, and so I don't have the same, like my brother gets very intimidated by it. I don't. I'm the opposite. I think the solutions we're going to see, which we've seen historically all throughout human history, is we never give everything up to technology. There's always a symbiotic relationship to some degree, and that's just human nature, and I don't think that's going to change. And AI, or AIs, artificial intelligences, many different ones, will just be applications on your computer or phone that you utilize when it's necessary for you, right? My concern is when AI gets in the hands of certain governments. But that's not AI is the problem, that's government is the problem, which we all learned in 2022. Before Freedom Convoy, people were blindly trusting them. I think some people, right? I think what it's done, like, look, the core people in the Freedom Convoy were already skeptical. For those of us who've lived in other countries, or as they say Trump said, which he never did, S-hole countries, you learn to be skeptical, and that governments can be very dangerous. And I think that was kind of the core thing amongst all of us in the Freedom Convoy, and that's why you saw so many people come from the West, because they'd been so damaged by the federal government. But I think what it did just opened up the minds of the normies, and the media and political class are desperately trying to reseal Pandora's box with their fake news bullshit, and it's just not happening, and they don't know how to deal with it. And that's because, as I mentioned here many times, media is no longer unidirectional, it's now bidirectional. So I could potentially end up with a much as big or larger audience than the $1 billion CBC, which means media is now bidirectional, and that's something they can't deal with. And they can't seem to make it, turn it profitable, which I don't understand. I could make that profitable in a heartbeat, but whatever, what can you do? Going around trying to find the AI-driven truck. You're not going to see that for a long time. You'll probably see that in the Tesla Semi at some point when they layer on AI on top of autopilot. But drivers aren't going anywhere anytime soon, so you don't have to worry. Ben, you said the border knew you were coming before you got there. Yeah, on Tucker Carlson, I explained that. I think tracking is wrong, and that is what it will be used for. It's so funny. This is kind of like the philosophy of software development, I guess you'd say, maybe is a way to describe it. And there's this spectrum, and on the spectrum, one side is convenience, and the other side is privacy. And depending where your biases are, we all have different biases, depending on what the topic is, we'll plot differently on that spectrum, right? Because I'm very comfortable with technology, I tend to, I don't like tracking, I like my privacy, but I do give a lot of leeway because of certain conveniences. So for example, I use Apple AirTags for a number of different applications. If you are 100% against any sort of tracking whatsoever, you would never touch an Apple AirTag. But for me, it gives so much, I'm never going to, I don't want to say what I use it for, but it adds so much that the benefits outweigh the downfalls in that certain specific, area. But then there's other areas that no way, I go nowhere near the convenience end of the spectrum, and I stick to the freedom. So it just kind of depends on what the topic is, right? It's not an either or. It just it depends what the topic is. Claudette, morning, BJ. Thought it was on at 10. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Claudette. Thank you for all your wonderful comments and your support and everything in 2022. We're going to make 2023 awesome, I promise. And anyways, BJ, that auto truck is great for the Thrives my truck is hard to steal. Yes, I've agreed. I mean, I have so many GPS receivers in my truck. My truck's never going to be stolen. I get to the point that I go to a place and, sometimes I'll leave the truck running just because I'm running in and out and it's minus 40 degrees out. It's always, you waste more gas when you start than just letting it idle. So I let the truck idle, and I do that with my car sometimes as well. And because I have so many GPSs out here, I just kind of, somebody tries to steal my truck or car or anything, you're just like, oh, okay, open up my phone. Here it is. You can watch him driving away. We'll find him. So, and again, that's part of the whole convenience argument. But like autopilot on the boat, still need a captain in the wheelhouse. 100%. Exactly. And that's just human nature. So I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. And it would be amazing when we could merge artificial intelligence with automation and human beings to kind of free. Like, I wish I could be, while I was driving my truck, set it into AI autopilot mode and be able to open up my computer, swing over my desk in front of me, rotate my chair a little bit, and start drafting a Substack or working on my to-do list or all that sort of stuff. Rampart, morning, brother. I hope you're well. Happy New Year to you, and thank you for all your love and support throughout 2022 and all your positivity, man. Like, I really do appreciate it. For people who don't know, Rampart Joe is on Twitter. He hosts spaces on a regular basis. Very respectful. He's a great host, and he's very welcome of all sorts of different opinions, which is what we need more of in our society. And he, prevents anybody from getting out of hand and admonishing. Yeah, there can be a little bit of friction in conversation, but we all need to respect each other and love each other. And Joe has been great. Throughout the year has been hosting spaces with that sort of tone and tenor. So if you're on Facebook or you're new to Facebook and you're looking for spaces to talk about politics, Canadian politics, cervasive sickness, medicine, whatever, Joe is just a great dude. And I can't thank you, you and DJ and Jennifer and a whole bunch of people, and James and everybody, for all your love and support this year. You've been great, and I hope I can, pay you back for everything. Oh, and Joe, I was on the phone yesterday for several hours from people in BC, and we're tentatively looking about sometime in the spring of me going out to BC and to see people. Twitter over Facebook. I understand. Okay. Share, blessing. Joy and peace to everyone throughout 2023. Shalom. Well, shalom haver. And how are you, Brian? Yeah, you said I'm going to be going to a Shiva house shortly, so I'll get my share of that. Happy New Year to all of you. And Bridget, I'll be pushing for AI to have their own road off and away from the general public. No, it's going to be amazing for you. I promise. You're going to love it. Like all technology, just like your cell phones. It's a love-hate relationship. We hate it when it doesn't work well or it's inconvenient or whatever. But when we love it, when we want to reach out to people around the world or our families or that sort of stuff, then we love it. Claudette, you pay back with your coffee streams. We learn a lot from these here. You're a good man. Well, I try my best, and thank you very much, Claudette. You're wonderful. Okay, so can I make you all angry? Can you all get angry at me now? Are you ready? Please don't. Just quickly, Amanda, who worked in the trucking industry on local, says, so Tesla did this heavy tractor carrying 100,000 kilograms. Or a tractor on a dry van. Tractor combines GPS-controlled drivers, turns corner, and re-engages GPS. Because I would argue that the vast difference between operating the different combinations. I'm confused. I don't understand that. If you can explain. Remember, I'm trying to talk. I got 3 streams in front of me, and I'm trying to interpret what you're saying, so I apologize. We're overworking my abilities and IQ. This doesn't do a heavy truck carrying a machine or a tractor on a dry van. Are you trying to say that the math doesn't work out with the Tesla? Because it's funny. Engineering Explained actually did the mathematical calculations on the Tesla Semi. It's a regional truck. I did this. No, I did it in a space with Phi Capital. he was asking me about, my thoughts on the Tesla truck. And Bridget, you'll understand this because there were no truckers in there, and I was trying to explain this, but people didn't get it. So the math on the Tesla Semi works out, okay? With the weight and all that sort of stuff, you will get, 500 miles out of a charge because there's no engine anymore. An engine weighs 5,000 pounds. I think in my truck, the engine weighs 4,000 pounds. So to supplement that with a battery, the math works out, okay? But my gripe with the Tesla Semi, and I just don't, I haven't driven it, so I can't, you have to drive it to say, oh yeah, it is good or bad. But my biggest concern is because you're sitting in the middle. So you're not on the left hand of the cab, or if you're in England or parts of Asia, on the right hand of the cab, or Africa. So you're right in the middle. And those of you who don't know what truck, have never driven a truck, that means you're blindsiding on both sides. Bridget, how interested are you in driving a tractor trailer where you're blindsiding on both sides? Always. You're only blindsiding. Does that appeal to you? Now, they say there's a bunch of automation and screens and all that sort of stuff, but it's just like using the mirrors. It's really not the same thing. There are times, and actually the time we had that Spaces where we discussed it, I was in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island has very small yards in certain areas, and I just couldn't have backed up if I couldn't have leaned out of the truck. It was just that tight. It's one of those yards where you have to jackknife in, right? But anyways, that's it is. Risa, good morning and Happy New Year to you. Happy 2023 to everybody. Calmer, less eventful. What do you mean calmer, less eventful? The events are fun. Come on. I thought you were traveling last night. No, I wasn't. I'm going to be back on the road Tuesday, actually. I got to go down to New York. Okay, so I promised you'll all get angry at me. And so... there's a vast difference between a tractor-trailer combination carrying a machine that weighs 100,000 kilograms and a tractor-trailer with a dry van or refrigerator trailer. Yeah, no, 100%. But they've been testing both on the Tesla, and they've given statistics for it loaded and unloaded. I think they amassed something like 1 million kilometers on it. But again, my biggest question is driving a truck where I'm blindsiding on both sides. I mean, oh, John. John's here. John also drives a truck. John's in Western Canada. John, let me ask you something. We just touched on the Tesla Semi. How interested are you in driving a tractor trailer where you sit in the middle, therefore you are blindsiding on both sides? Does that interest you at all? And notwithstanding, the automation may help that. Maybe all the cameras makes it, completely drivable. I've never driven it, so I can't really say either way. But that's just my only concern. Does that us older? So Bridget, avoid it. Us older drivers won't use screens. They mean nothing. I'm having problems learning to use my new drone. It does not compute. Okay, yeah. So fair enough. People have different, barriers to technology, which I discussed in the last stream. Okay, all right, everybody. I want you all to you're gonna get angry at me, but this is not my opinion. You're gonna hear me say this many, many times. This is not my opinion, but this is a thought exercise. Okay. Caution to the wind, throwing the dice every... Yeah, okay, so John says in terms of sitting in the center of the truck, he says, that's like throwing caution to the wind and throwing dice every time you back up. Okay, so I'm not the only one when I'm blindsiding. I'm completely guessing. I have no idea what's going on back there, right? All right, so don't get it. It's not my opinion. I dropped into Scott Adams' live stream just before I came in here, okay? And he cited an article that confirmed my suspicion the entire time during the cerveza sickness and all the mandates and all that sort of stuff, okay? Again, this is not my assumption is my opinion, and the rest I don't know. And I'll explain that. And this article highlighted what I suspected was going on the entire time. Doesn't prove it, but it kind of it kind of connects the dots on some stuff and suggests that that's what's going on. Okay, because the entire time with all these mandates and you have to get vaccinated, you have to get the medicine and all that sort of stuff. I'm on YouTube, that's why I say that. And it just didn't make sense. Like, what is the motivating factor, right? A new YouTube series, Twerking with Bridget. All right, you guys have your conversation. Awesome. All right, so I thought, and I mentioned this to a few of my close friends, I thought the motivation behind all of this, mandates and crap goes back to the research of Dr. David St. Clair, Dr. Aubrey de Grey, and the SENS Institute, and various others in medicine who adopted this kind of revolutionary approach to medicine, 20 years ago, 15 years ago is when this all started. And it's a different theory towards medicine, to treat aging as a disease, okay? And the reason is, part of the premise is, if you want to look as young as possible, exercise is the key. So, and particularly lifting weights, heavy weights. It doesn't have to be heavy, but you know what I mean. Strength training. Because there is a extensive research that shows when you do strength training and you build new muscle, fresh muscle tissue, that fresh muscle tissue is the equivalent to the muscle tissue that you develop during your prime, right? So if your prime age is, and I think it varies from people, in your late 20s, early 30s, whatever it was, you can be 60 years old, start lifting weights, and the underlying muscle tissue is like young muscle tissue. And that kind of lent the path for this theory that ended up in epigenetics, that the old theory of aging is completely incorrect, that our bodies just over time just get worn out and get old and all that sort of stuff. Well, if that's the case, then how can you generate new, fresh muscle tissue that's as though you were in your 20s when you're in your 60s? It's not possible that your body just and also all the cellular reproduction, all the cells in your body replenish every 10 years. It takes 10 years to go through all the cells in your body. Every 10 years, you're a completely new person. All the cells have died off and been replaced, right? So they're looking at it as though it's kind of like an operating system on your computer. That's what epigenetics is. That is the programming code in your body that is causing us to age. It's not that our bodies are getting worn out. And this research has been going on for a long time. Okay, it's been going on for at least 15 years, maybe longer. And if you look at Dr. David St. Clair, who's been following his research and kind of using himself as a guinea pig, he's in his late 50s and he looks like he's 12. Well, not 12, but he looks much younger than his age. So I thought maybe that's somehow tying into all of this mandates nonsense, okay? Again, it's not my opinion. It's just a suspicion. It's a working theory. It's a hypothesis. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just a hypothesis I'm considering. All right. So you have all of these nutzos at the World Economic Forum. They're all older than dirt. Klaus is 82 years old or something like that. This whole idea of extending our life, which is what David St. Clair works on, life extension, this is so intrinsic to the human experience. Like the first piece of literature in human history is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which dates back to the Sumerians. It's 8,000 years old? 7,000 years old, I think, was when the Epic of Gilgamesh was originally written. And the Epic of Gilgamesh is all about finding the fountain of life, or the fountain of youth, whatever. That's what the Epic of his journey to find eternal life, right? So now here we are in the modern age where we have David St. Clair, Aubrey de Grey, all these doctors who are now trying to teach aging as a disease and who are making significant progress in this area. And you have all of these, we call them the global elites or whatever you want to call them, who are all old. Some of them have more money than God. And what do you want? We can buy anything, you want to have either a legacy or you want to live forever. And I always thought in the back of my head, and I mentioned this to a few friends of mine who were out together and whatever, having coffee or going for drinks or whatever. I always thought, I wonder if, because mRNA, if it worked, again, not my opinion. So people, before you start saying Dichter's pro-vax and pro-mRNA, no, I'm not saying that, okay? This is just a thought exercise, okay? But the premise of mRNA could be amazing if it worked. And I'm not saying it works or doesn't. I have no idea, right? And there seems to be a lot of evidence to show that there was a lot of, again, I'm on YouTube, so I got to be careful what I say. There's no evidence that there was any problem with the 2020 election in the United States. Okay, YouTube, you happy? So, but what if? And so, I spoke to a doctor about this who was very skeptical about, all the mandates and all this sort of stuff. However, this doctor did say, from a scientific standpoint, the thesis of mRNA would be amazing if it worked. It could change medicine forever. Again, if it worked, and it's not my opinion that it worked. So for everybody who tries to Dichter's pro this, he's not. It's a thought exercise. But what if all of this, as I said to my friends, was all about using all of humanity as guinea pigs to test life extension technology on all of us, and to see if this actually could extend all of our lives, right? Anytime you research and you test, you do small sample size, you got to test and retest, but the people who are motivated by this are all in their 80s. They're getting close to the end of their lives. They need to get this research going on quick. They need to get results if they want to hang on to their lives and live longer and have life extension. Well, the article that Scott Adams was sourcing, and I haven't listened to it. I only listened to a few minutes. I'm going to delve more into it and then come back and talk to you guys about it, and I'll post it somewhere. The article seemed to indicate that exactly my theory is probably what was going on. That they're trying to bring this technology out as quickly as possible because they think it might lead to the cure to aging as a disease. And the whole premise of epigenetics, by the way, is not that you would live your life as, 80 years old for your entire life. No. Remember I said younger muscle tissue? It would actually replenish over time all the cells in your body, that your cells in your body would be that of somebody who is in their prime in their youth. So it's the true fountain of youth. I know it sounds scientific and crazy and science fantasy. I know that. Listen, I'm not the research doing that. This is just what they're doing. Again, it's not my opinion that this is accurate, that it's correct, and whatever. But what if that's what they were doing? I don't know. Anyways, just something to consider. I'll delve into it. I'll find what the article, see if I can get an idea. Oh, Terry, you're full of crap. It's fake news. Oh, okay, Terry, well, you get a special star for being an asshole. There you go. Sorry, yeah, I don't take shit on my own platform. What are you going to do? But anyways, so it's just, again, it's not my opinion that this is what's going on. I'm not pro any of this stuff, whatever, but it's always important to understand, let's look at the motivations of people across the spectrum. And if we remove projecting negative intent onto people and say, hey, maybe there was something else going on. Again, I don't know. And, people often ask me, how are you able to communicate with people who are not on the, conservative end of the spectrum like I am? And that's why, because I try to consider what their opinions are. It doesn't mean I agree or disagree, but I want to understand what's motivating them. So I know. I just thought it was interesting to log on to Scott Adams today and to find out that there's an article of some people who are prominent and who are in this space, this part of medicine, that seemed to be indicating that, yeah, that might have been what was going on. Would that change our opinions? I don't know. I know this was. Okay, so now BJ needs to do a weekly Zoom chat with us. Little people, stop it. Listen, I'm just a regular dude. Just a regular trucker like everybody else. So we can see who can make him spit coffee out of his nose. Well, yeah, sometimes. And listen, I love all you guys. And again, all of that is not my opinion, but it's just interesting to consider. And what if that was the case? Like, again, I'm going to do some diving and research and reach out to people to find out, was that what's going on? But that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought was going on. I saw an interview with 100-year-old woman, said she was the secret to aging is smoking, drinking, and divorce early. You know why she was 100 years old? Because she has an amazing sense of humor. Because anybody who says something like that has an awesome attitude towards life and has a positive attitude towards life. And I think that's a part of the key, the mental side of allowing us to live longer, is just to have a good positive approach, which is what I want to do with all of you here. And that's why I love doing this. And for all of you who are all supportive and kind, I love you all. And John, as we talked yesterday, we're going to do something out west. And I can't wait to see you, brother, and have some beers together and just shoot the shit. I want to see your truck already because I've heard so much about your truck. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and everybody out there. It'll be amazing. And Bridget, I don't know what's happening on the 28th, but I look forward to seeing you. It's going to be awesome. And I look forward to giving you your first hug of 2023. I look forward to doing it to everybody else. At some point, I will see Tamara again and give her a hug. And everybody else. And let's just focus on 2023 being the freest year of your life, and every subsequent year after that having us obtain more freedom. I think if we do that, irrespective of our differences politically and all that sort of stuff, we stick together on that mission, then our lives are going to be better, more prosperous. We're going to make more money. We're going to be more successful. We're going to have happier families. And we're going to lighten the lives of those of us around us. And that's what's going to truly help us live longer. Use why you were made a meeting. Okay, I didn't understand that. Why are you mad at me? Tau USD. I know. Okay, you guys are arguing. I too much conversation that I'm getting lost in the loop here. But listen, I love you guys. And we're going to do this in 2023. Already a bunch of stuff. I got a bunch of podcast interviews lined up, stuff in the U.S., some radio interviews in the U.S. I think are being thrown my way already. As I put in that tweet, the honking will continue until we all have freedom from tyranny. And when I say tyranny, I mean government overreach, this creep in our lives where government is telling us how to live our lives. And, back to that whole thing with life extension. I've had this conversation with many friends over the years since I started learning about David Sinclair's research and listening to podcasts that he was on and reading some of his articles. I haven't read his book yet, but I will. And I've met people who said, no, I don't want to live forever. 100 years is good enough for me, or 80 years is good enough for me. I'm like, really? Okay. I want to live forever. But if that's not that doesn't interest you, great. All the best. The Rob Primo is here on Instagram. What's up, brother? Listen, love your feeds. Love everything you do online, man. I'm a big supporter of you. And you're a big, important voice in this fight for freedom. And we all got to stick together, like I've been saying on all my streams. We got to stick together, and irrespective of our differences, we're going to have them. That's just the way families are. I think I disagree with 50% of what my mother tells me, as much as I love her. And if that's the attitude we go in with all of us who are trying to expand our freedoms, life is going to be better than it's ever been. So I love that you guys are all here, and I want to thank you all. Okay, I got to run. It's getting late. Check out Andrew Herberman's pod. He's great, too. Okay, I'll check it out. See Discord equally mad, not sure. And if you want to post any of those things, recommendations for me or me to share recommendations, the primary platform, especially now for me, is Twitter. since Musk took it over. It's a completely different world now. I don't have to be worried about what I'm going to say, unlike on Facebook and on YouTube. And that goes for all of you as well. So if you have anything you want, I've opened up my DMs again. I had to keep them closed for a while because I was getting tens of thousands of, crypto scams and stuff like that. So I've opened them up again. I think I got it under control. I'm trying to find another bot that will weed out that stuff. So if you want to share that stuff with me, Twitter's really the best platform. Yes, I'm on Facebook, Instagram as well, but the primary one for me right now is Twitter. But I do try to respond to everybody on all the other platforms. So, and thank you, everybody. And I want to thank all of you for 2022, for coming out and helping myself and Bridget and Tamara and Chris and everybody and all the truckers who went out, especially the guys who were on the street. I came a couple of times. I hobbled out of my hotel on my crutches because there's a couple of trucks right in front of the hotel, and I wanted to get a breath of fresh air and just thank whoever was in front, and because they always shift a little bit. And a couple of times the guys were by their trucks, so I went out and talked to them. And one guy, I remember, he had a Freightliner Cascadia. Talked to him for a little bit. He asked me what I drove. I told him a Volvo VNL. And like Bridget, he's like, "Oh, you'll get a real truck one day." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I hear it." Sorry, I love Volvos. I've had many Volvo cars, and I love Volvo cars, or used to, and I love their trucks as well. So, but yeah, I want to thank all of you and everybody who was on the ground there for 3 weeks. And, that was important for me when I was doing all these interviews to communicate that, no, we're fed up with taking shit from our government. That's why those guys are out there freezing their butts off while the government of Canada is trying to starve them of fuel to freeze them at night. And you notice no one's given up because we weren't. And I want to thank all of you for that. We couldn't have done that. And Bridget knows this. Tamara knows this. Chris, everybody knows. We couldn't have done this without you. It wasn't, us who are putting this all together the best we could that made it happen. It's you and your support that made it happen. And I'm forever at your debt for that. And I really do appreciate it. All right. The sound system in a Volvo is awesome. No, Bridget, you know what I've done? I got, if you're a truck driver, a life hack. Get Skull Candy headphones. Get Skull Candy over your headphones. The reason is they're designed, I guess, they're like super bass, and they have haptic feedback in the headphones. So it almost, that sensation you get when you're in a car stereo that has a subwoofer in it and you can feel the bass. It mimics that with a headset, and it's also, it has access for Bluetooth for a cell phone. I'm telling you, it's amazing for 80s music, because 80s music and 70s music as well, they're always missing the bass. The midtones are good, the highs are okay, but there's always a lack of bass just because it didn't exist in analog music production. Whenever I'm also a music guy, I play a bunch of instruments. So I always used a sequencer for my keyboards when I would record music and stuff. So you could always digitally mimic it, but that didn't exist when 80s music was originally produced, and it was all done. It was like this weird time where you'd have Juno synthesizers that would sound digital, but they're analog synthesizers, right? But if you use Skull Candy headsets, and you listen to 60s, 70s, 80s music, you slide up the haptic feedback bass, and all of a sudden, your 80s, 70s, 60s music sounds completely remastered. It's amazing. So, Skull Candy, what do I have? I broke my ANCs in the car accident in Ottawa. One of the victims was my $300 headsets. So I think I got Skull Candy Evos. Anyways, the big Skull Candy over ear, get those. They're a couple $100, I think $250. Bridget, it will change your life in the truck, I promise you, if you're listening to music. If even when I listen to podcasts, they're so good. All right, I got to run. I love you all. I hope you are all not angry at me when I went into the life extension conversation. That is my assumption of what was going on, that it's not that they were trying to manipulate all of this for this research to treat aging as disease. I don't know that that's the case. I'm going to find out. I'll do a little bit of a deep dive into that over the next week or so and see what I find out, and maybe you can do the same. But regardless, doesn't matter because we have our freedom back, and that's what's important. And let's focus on bringing people together in 2023 and reaching out to everybody across the side. And don't forget this little book, this tool that we have to find people who are open-minded, who aren't, necessarily in the camp of, oh, the truckers are, horrible people. The people who are like, I don't really know about the truckers. How can I learn about it? Right here, honkingforfreedom.com. I don't know how far you are in the book, Bridget. John, I think you got yours just now. What you told me, Dominic just got his as well. And I want to get all of your your input and your support. And wherever you bought it, please log on and leave a review. It'll help with the algorithm. And I want to thank all of you for everything you did in 2023 to help us all fight for freedom. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you. All right, I got to run. I'll talk to you soon.